Hi, welcome to this episode of Roaming with Restless Women, dynamic, wise leaders talking together. Lilian Raji is my guest today. Lilian, for over 2 decades, has served as a strategic counselor and public relations advisor to some of the world's leading luxury brands, ladies. She helped introduce St. DuPont to the U.S. market and aided the Quebec government delegation in promoting their artists to the broader American market, just to name a few. Notably, she handled the press launch of Watchbox with publicity from full-page coverage in the New York Times, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, and more, leading to that startup securing $100 million in funding. When brands have a story to tell, Lilian gets them in front of the widest, most qualified audience possible. She seamlessly integrates marketing, PR, and sales to ensure every facet of a client's strategy is harmoniously aligned and reinforced across all consumer-facing channels. That's a challenge these days.
Yes.
Lilian delivers tailored client-focused services with marketing blueprints customized to each client's unique identity and aspirations. Her attention to detail is especially prized in the luxury sector, making her the quintessential choice for emerging and growing brands striving for distinction and excellence. In between showing clients how to make more money with existing and new customers, Lilian pens a regular column called Dear Lilian, EPR Advisor for National Jeweler Magazine. That's amazing. Welcome, Lilian.
Thank you. And I should add, I'm also now a Forbes contributor, which came,
Woo.
yes, a couple of months ago, a part of my restlessness that we're going to discuss.
Oh, yes, we will. We surely will. That's wonderful. Okay, so how did you get into PR and marketing to begin with? What was it about that world that you loved?
By accident.
Okay.
I spent my entire life believing I was going to be a lawyer. And my mom hates this story, but I'm going to keep telling it because it's the truth. I graduated college in 3 years. So my sophomore slash junior year, I was studying for my LSATs and I saw this movie, Devil's Advocate. If no one's ever seen it, I'm sorry for the spoiler alert. But basically, it's Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino. Keanu Reeves is this hotshot lawyer, never lost a case. Florida-based lawyer. He gets recruited by a New York firm and is presented a case where he finds out undeniably his client was guilty, that the client not only killed his wife and her stepson, now he's sleeping with his stepdaughter. And that's why he killed the wife. Oh, and the housekeeper. And so Keanu Reeves had to make this decision of whether or not he would win the case or step aside. And he decided that his ego won't let him not lose a case. We then find out that Al Pacino is the devil, like literally the devil. So this is not a movie you want to watch while you're studying for your LSAT, okay?
I guess not. Oh my goodness.
It freaked me out. And my mom stopped telling people the story, but it's the truth. This is how I left law and I accidentally found PR in the course of me trying to decide, all right, I spent 19 years thinking I was going to be a lawyer. Obviously, this is not going to be what's going to happen. Where am I going to go? And I owe my going into PR to this woman, Elizabeth Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Still have her card. It's on a pinpoint billboard in my room. She probably won't remember me from anybody, but she was at an agency called West Wayne in Atlanta, where I had an interview to be a copywriter. And I'm in this interview telling her, oh my God, I love writing. I love coming up with concepts. I love putting together events. I love this. I love that. And she's like, Lilian, it doesn't sound like you want to be a copywriter. It sounds like you want to be in PR. And I'm like, no, are you not listening to me? Again, I was like 22, 23 at this time. So yeah. So yeah, the arrogance of a 22-year-old. Are you seriously? I'm just telling you, I want to be a copywriter. So tell me more. And I continue that same line of reasoning. And she's like, no, Lilian, you sound like you want to be PR. And I'm like, what are you not getting here? Am I talking to the wall? I want to be a copywriter. So it's fine. You want to be a copywriter? We'll call you. And I remember walking to my car after the interview and I'm like, maybe I do want to be in PR. And then I looked into PR and I realized it's exactly what it fit everything that I wanted. And it took time and wisdom. I realized later on, after 20 years in this industry, that I didn't really stray too far from being a lawyer because the same skill sets that would made me a phenomenal lawyer are what has made me a phenomenal PR person. And I have to
Tell me
credit.
about those. Tell me
Well,
about those skill sets, those skills.
So there's a lot of strategic thinking in
Oh,
what you have to do. So if you have a client, and with the law, you can't you do not want them to tell you that they're guilty, because you have to defend them anyway. And to my understanding, they did tell you, you're supposed to like tell the court, the judge, blah blah blah, without assuming his innocence, because we are all in this in America, we're all innocent or we're proven guilty. Assuming they're innocent, you have to look and frame the story and figure, all right, if my client didn't do this, whether or not they did, if my client didn't do this, what is the story that I'm going to tell that's going to convince the jury that my client didn't do this? And the same thing with my clients in PR. This is what my clients' products are. What is the story I'm going to tell the consumers as to why they need to purchase my client's products? So then you have to look with the lawyer, you're going to look at the jury selection, you're going to look on who's in your jury and figure out exactly the persona of the juries. In my case, I'm doing the customer persona of figuring out who the personality of my client's target customers are. And then in both cases, we're presenting an argument for the lawyer, or a story, in my case, to convince the consumer that this is why you should buy my client's products.
wow, I hadn't thought about those linkages. That's amazing.
I'm a big movie fan, a movie buff. So in addition to all my books, I don't know if you ever saw Chicago. Oh
I
my
probably
God, oh
have.
my God, you need to watch it. You need to find and watch it. It's the musical Chicago. And it was
Uh-huh.
watching it. Richard Gere is a lawyer in the movie, but then I'm seeing him acting like a PR person. And that's when I got it. I'm like, oh my God, I did not stray too far between, because what he was doing was publicity for his client and telling this story
Yes.
and weaving doubt and all of this. I'm like, wait a minute. So yes, watching Richard Gere tap dance through Chicago is how I put the two and two together.
It sometimes things come to you to guide you in your life that you just don't expect. And those are
Yeah,
the kinds of
exactly.
things. A movie
Exactly.
for crying out loud, right?
Yes. Yes. In my case, two movies. So
Yeah, exactly. Two movies. So when you think about your career in PR, what is it that you love the most? What jazzes you up the most about the whole PR process?
the strategy development.
Yeah.
And this is what separates me from many other PR people.
Mm.
I am usually the person that companies come to after all their PR agencies have failed them.
Oh, okay.
And what separates me from them is that a lot of people have a cookie cutter approach, and it
Oh,
is. I was having this discussion with another PR person yesterday, because she's, oh, I don't do luxury PR. I say no, but the formula for what I do and what you do is pretty much the same. It's just that there's a little bit more element to it. Like in luxury PR, there's a lot more seduction in my storytelling, a lot more seduction in my strategy. Whereas regular, if you're doing a financial PR or medical PR or just general, there's less seduction in it, but still the formula is the same. What
mhm.
happens with my clients is that their previous PR people have not sat down with them to understand who they are. So they come in and they're like, "Oh, you do jury, so we have all these jury clients, so this is how we're going to tell your story." But the thing is, in order to get these stories, I'll give you an example: is Watchbox, the last one you talked about.
Yes.
Watchbox is one of my proudest achievements, because I was able to get them in the New York Times 4 separate times. Now, the thing about this is that it's very rare to get a client in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, et cetera, more than once a year. Because one day the journalist doesn't want to show any favoritism, different stories that have to be told, all of that. But because I sat down with my client, not only sitting down to understand the CEO, but then spending time with their entire team, I was able to come up with multiple stories. And so when you come up with multiple stories, that means that I could go to a different reporter at the New York Times, because it's not so much that you can only be in the New York Times once in a year. And it's more, you can only be, a journalist will only cover you once a year. So
Got it.
understanding there were more
Ah.
stories to be told, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pitch this story to Victoria Gomelski, who I love to death, because she's always covers all my clients. But then I found Paul, oh my God, I forgot Paul's last name. Paul covered but he's now doing something else. He's no longer a journalist. He won't be upset because he's no longer a journalist. But I pitched him an idea. He had a column called Money Matters, where he teaches high net worth individuals different ways to invest their money. So I
Uh-huh.
pitched him an idea of using watches as a commodity and investing their money into watches. So it's a strategy development. It's me getting deep into the soul of a client's company and saying, okay, I'm seeing 6 different stories that I can tell 6 different reporters to get you that story. And that's what excites me.
Wow. And that too, it sounds a lot like journalism, only looking at one story from 6 or 7 different perspectives. Because that's
Absolutely.
when you're working with people, especially at the C level, they all have a different perspective on the same company, depending on their role or their position, their responsibility, their talents, whatever. And it sounds like you're able to pick up on all of those.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's the thing too. Like journalists and PR people have a love-hate relationship, but we cannot exist without each other.
Right.
Um, the PR people that I love, like me, from journalists, are the ones who understand what it is they're trying to do. Because I am
Mhm.
a natural storyteller. All these books have helped me with that. So I always approach the journalists with the idea of the full story, whereas you have neophyte PR people who don't really understand, because a lot of them don't. That's the other thing too. They don't push back on their clients, because clients come in, and this is always a challenge. Clients think they know what they want, they don't. It took me a few years to find my voice, but once I found it, I've gained a reputation as a pit bull. And I tell people now, right before we sign the contract, let me warn you right now, all right? This is what I expect from you. This is what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And you're either going to give it to me or you're going to be wasting your money, because I'm not going to give you back your money. All right.
Mhm.
And here's the thing: you love me now, but I promise you, you're going to hate me. But you're also going to be a lot further than where you were when we started, because I'm
And
going
you're
to
going to love
push
me
you.
again.
Yeah, as a result, you're going to respect me ultimately, push you to do things that you are not comfortable with, because that's where change happens. Change happens in the most uncomfortable places. And a lot of clients they think they want what it is that I'm going to deliver, what they've seen me deliver for other clients. But then when I have to come in and say, look, I'm not putting you in front of a reporter because you're making these mistakes when we're talking, and there's this pushback. And I'm like, I don't care. You can keep pushing back all you want. Again, I'm not giving back your money. So either you're going to listen to me, you're either going to
Yep.
listen to me and let me get you where you want to be, or you're going to have wasted your money. So it's,
Very pragmatic,
yes. But
you know.
again, a lot of PR agencies don't push back. Like
Mhm.
as I mentioned, I'm writing for Forbes now, and just full disclosure, I do not cover any of my clients in Forbes. I cannot, as part of my relationship
Right.
with Forbes. And my writing for Forbes is part of a bigger strategy that goes back into my restlessness. So I'm doing a series now. I'm wrapping up a series now called Winners of the Olympics. And I found this one company called Figs. They did this amazing thing where for the Olympics, they highlighted the healthcare workers as opposed to the athletes. And that was very personal
Yes.
to me because my mother was a healthcare worker. She was a medical
Oh,
social worker. And a lot of what I've been doing since she passed last year, a lot of what I've been doing since she passed has been in honor of her legacy. But the PR person started emailing me and asking me, because I told her I was going to do 2 articles. I did one, went out, and she was like, "Oh, you called them heroes. Our client will prefer calling them champions." And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly."
why?
And I'm like, then
That's
I'm
two
like,
different.
are you kidding me?" And
Yeah.
then she comes back to me like, "Oh, with this second article, please include these pictures." And I'm like, "I just told you the article's already scheduled to go out." And I'm part of this PR network. It's a bunch of senior PR people. So I just went on there and vented because I didn't want to be nasty to her, because I am a PR person at heart.
Yes.
And the reality is that the client was probably telling her that. And instead of
Yes.
her saying, "I don't want to jeopardize my relationship with Lilian, this is a stupid request." It's not
Yeah.
that deep. But if I go to Lilian and say that, she's not going to like me anymore. And a lot of PR people don't do that, which is why
Mm.
journalists can hate PR people, because they come to them with whatever their client is telling them should do. And journalists will block them, will blast them, will do all kinds of things.
Right.
So
We
um,
have to allow every profession or every person that we interact with to do business with, we have to allow them to be authentic and to deliver what they've promised to deliver. And
Yes.
if we're not part of that value stream, then we maybe shouldn't be working with them. We shouldn't
Exactly.
be, yeah, to me, it's disrespectful if I were to go into an organization and tell the CEO how to do his or her job.
Right, right. Yeah,
I'm not a CEO, but by the same token, they don't tell me how to do change management or executive coaching.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. So, what have you found as having your own company? What have you found is having the blah, sorry,
No worries.
what is the hardest thing that you found about being a senior woman running your own company?
What's the hardest thing about being a senior woman? I have a lot of things going against me. I am a woman,
Mm,
I am a minority, and I'm also an immigrant.
okay.
Yes, I'm originally from Nigeria. So I have
Okay.
things going against me, but even with these three things going against me, I've risen beyond most people in my industry because I focused on results.
Right.
So I've gotten to where I am in life by doing what I promised I would do and then building my company from referrals. So there is that
Yes.
challenge for me that I cannot pick up the phone and call a company because there are all these, if you don't know who I am, there are all these obstacles that are in the way, the things that the subconscious limitations people put on themselves as to, oh, she's a woman, she can't do this, she's a immigrant, all these things that come says, you know what, Lillian, that's who you need. Then I go into a meeting, I will always close them. So I'm in this place now because when we found out my mom had cancer
Mm.
2 years ago, I stopped working, shut down my business to move her in with me and be her sole caretaker. And unfortunately, my biggest failure to date was not being able to heal my mother. But I also understand
Oh,
that failure is a part of life. There's as much as people call me a miracle worker, there's only so many miracles I can perform. So
right.
I'm
Yeah.
coming to terms with that. But in my 2 years of shutting down the company, my referral network dried up because it's, oh, she's busy with this, so she's going all this. So now I'm in this place now of rebuilding, and rebuilding without referrals has been a bit challenging. So I'm finding myself now in doing what I would do for my clients, which is putting them on a podcast, having them do interviews,
Yes.
signing up. I'm getting Forbes to agree to allow me to write for them, which that was in its own, that took a 6 month process, but it got confirmed. So putting myself out there in a way that's been very uncomfortable for me for many years because I've been the worker bee who sits here and likes to do the work. It's hard for people to believe when I tell them I'm actually an introvert. No one ever believes it because when you meet me, I'm using like 5-inch red heels and I'm barking orders and screaming everywhere. But
Yep.
it's like being an introvert doesn't mean you can't be outgoing. It just means that I can't be that person all the time. So now I'm going to go hide under my covers for next week and re-energize before you see me again.
It's where you
Um,
get your energy from, either
yes,
from within or without.
yes,
Absolutely. I'm an extroverted introvert too.
yes. Oh, I'll give you a term I learned. We're learned extroverts. That's what we
Yes.
learned extroverts. So it is very uncomfortable for me.
Hmm.
I don't know if I should tell you this story because I don't want this idiot to get any further.
Well,
I,
don't
I'm
then.
no, but because it's fun, the story's funny, but I doubt
Okay.
if he's going to hear this. I'm hoping he doesn't hear. I doubt because I don't want him to feel like any pride in what happened. But one
Uh-huh.
of the challenges with being visible is that I've had this irrational fear of being attacked. Just, oh my God,
Oh,
what if they attack me? What if they chase me with pitchforks and spikes? It was just an irrational fear, right? So for my second Forbes column, I wrote about Hermes and how they're being sued. And so
okay.
this idiot messages me this nasty message on Instagram accusing me of Hermes paying me off for that article. And I wish they did. I would ask for a Birkin bag if they were going to pay me off. So I blocked him. So then he tracks down my email address and starts to email me. And I responded, I'm like, look, I blocked you because you were being offensive. But then he keeps telling me, oh, your facts are wrong and this and that. And I'm like, no, my facts aren't wrong. And and so I'm like, look, it looks like why don't you just take this up with Hermes? Why are you coming to me with these issues? And he continues on and on until I finally blocked him again. And then what he does next is he buys an ad on Facebook promoting the article and attacking me in the article.
Whoa, you hit a nerve, didn't you?
So
That's
that made me go track down who this idiot was. And apparently he was running some scam 10 years ago of reselling Birkin bags of Hermes products. And Hermes blocked him from being able to buy anything from their stores anymore. So
oh
that's who
my
this guy was.
goodness.
But I'm like, and it's like the universe has these strange ways of working because
Yes,
it gave me the thing that I feared most.
in a funny way.
Yes,
Yeah.
it gave me the thing I feared most, and it's not that bad. And the thing that this idiot doesn't understand is he drove up the views on my story. So my
Yes.
story went viral, and he doesn't understand that I get credit for my views. So he didn't realize he was helping me with this.
I'm telling you, it's people are weird. They're weird and
Yes.
amazing at the same time. So
Can I do
what?
one more thing? He
Uh-huh.
actually emailed one of my clients and he CC'd me on the email because I ended up, because I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior. Knowing I'm a warrior, I ended up putting whatchamacallit, a redirect so that I wouldn't see his emails will go into a folder. And because of the former lawyer in me, I was only doing that just in case something happened I need to refer back to.
Yes.
So about
Yes.
2 months later, I went and looked into the folder and I saw he'd emailed my clients and we're like, Lilian, and it began, she blocked me on Instagram. How dare she? And then my clients know me. They know my personality. They're like, is this your PR person? I think with her telling all these lies about Hermes, I think your customers deserve better than this. And of course, none of them responded to him, and none of them even contacted me to let me know they got this email because
Oh,
they
good
know me.
grief. They
You
just
know,
delete, delete, delete.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But it was just amazing to me how the thing I feared most was the first thing that happened. It was like,
Well,
get over the fear.
exactly.
All right.
And that's amazing that you had that opportunity to learn. It would have scared me a
Immediately.
little bit that he actually was tracking me down and whatever. But the worst thing happened, and you not only did you overcome it, but you're laughing about it. So
Because
that's
again,
amazing to your confidence level, and you must be doing something right. Because in my mind, if you're not making some waves, you're not doing something right.
yes, this is true. But as a PR person, my whole thing is I'm the invisible person. Don't look at me. Look at my client. Don't look at me.
Oh,
So I'm coming out of that,
yeah, that's good. Well, you
that
need to stand
mindset
in your
that's
own
like, okay,
brand. You
yeah,
need to stand in your own. That's right. I have three final questions for you. We're coming up on time. The first one's a little strange, but what I'm going to ask you to do is to close your eyes,
okay.
okay, and describe the picture that appears in front of you when I say wise woman, and then open your eyes and tell me about her.
Oh, a woman, an older woman sitting on a throne with a panther beside her.
Mm. She must still, she must be just giving out wisdom right and left.
Yes.
Yes, I love it. The queen in all of us.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
And the wisdom of the panther. Yeah.
Absolutely. Where do you like to roam?
Oh my God. This is a difficult question for me always because I plan to spend a month in Cadiz in northern Spain to write my first novel. The
Hmm.
energy of that city is that of an artist, of artists. Like it's where Dali lived with his lover. They have a house there. But everybody that lives there is an artist of some sort. And when I say artist, not just painter, jewelry designers, photographers,
Yeah.
all of it. And that energy of that city is there.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not going to repeat the name because I don't want people like destroying it, the tourism
Yeah.
destroying.
Okay.
Um, Spain, I always feel as my soul country. Even though I'm from Nigeria originally, anytime I'm in Spain, whether it's the north or south, I feel like I'm coming home.
Oh,
But the biggest trip I've ever taken, and I'm an explorer. I don't call myself a traveler, I'm an explorer. And I've been to 96 cities over 30 countries in the last 9 years, was in Brazil. I did a cruise down the Amazon. And on the cruise, I made friends with somebody that worked on the cruise ship. And he came to me, would you like to see my people, meet my people? And again, I'm a solo traveler on top of that. So I'm like, sure, why not? So why not get into a canoe with a stranger to go deep into the Amazon? You know? My mother hated when travel because I turn into a child when I travel. And oh, sorry.
Just curious.
Yes, I turn into an idiot child when I travel because I just do these things without considering the worst case scenario. But
Gotcha.
he took me in to meet a relatively untouched tribe. I wish I could show you the pictures of them. And this became my favorite of all my trips, of all my roaming, because I will
Yes.
never, ever in history be able to do this again. Because it was this
Yeah.
chance meeting of this chance person on this cruise ship for me to be able to go in and meet this untouched tribe, a relatively untouched tribe. For that, that becomes my favorite travel story,
That's
my favorite of
amazing.
all my roaming.
Yeah, nobody that I know of has ever been to see a group like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So
When we get
what
off, I will email you some pictures so you
that would
can
be
see. Yeah,
great. I
yeah.
would love that. So what makes you restless? Because we've talked about being restless, you and I.
What's make what's made me restless now came from my mom's passing. So I was very angry. My mom retired at age 78, and I had to push her to retire. I
Uh,
can't say I forced her because there was no forcing my mom, right?
yeah.
She retired from Grady Hospital as a medical social worker at age 78 on
Wow.
July 30th, 2 weeks after her birthday. I brought her to Miami, where I live now, August 5th, and we found out about the colon cancer on September 30th. And then she passed on February 14th.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, I now have in my possession all of her things. And I was going through her things, and I started finding all these letters from her patients of just like all the things she's done. I found one that had a telephone number. This particular one had to be about 15 years old. But for whatever
Wow.
reason, I just needed people to know my mom was gone. So I called the woman. Not only did she not remember my mother, she told me exactly what my mom did for her. And it made me realize how selfish I was, because I'm upset that my mom passed, because in my mind she was my mom. She had just retired. I brought her to Miami. We were going to have the whole Real Housewives of Miami vibe going on. I was going to find her a nice old sugar daddy. I had all these plans for her and we couldn't do any of it, and I was angry about that. I was angry I didn't have that time. But then when I saw, look at what good my mom did on this earth. My like who am I to question it being her time to leave when she had worked so hard her entire life to do all this great good, that death was not a punishment. It was her time to rest. She had earned the
Yes.
rest that her life had given her. And so it made me start questioning, what legacy do I want to leave when it's my
Hmm.
time to go? How can I have people remember me 15 years later and say these kind of things that was said about my mother? And that's where my restlessness came from. Because how can I live up to the legacy my mom left behind? I definitely was not going to be a social worker because I'm too much of a capitalist. I like making money too much. Um,
Yes.
so one of the things I did, and there's many, and where we don't have enough time to get into it, but one of the things that I did and I enjoy
Mhm.
now doing, I signed up for an organization called the Venture Mentoring Team, where it's an organization of some of the most accomplished executives in the world who all come together. We all donate our time to mentor different startups, small business owners, etc. And it's been an amazing experience. In this time,
Oh,
as I'm rebuilding my company and slowly getting back to where I was, I'm also spending this time, volunteering time, to work with different small businesses and entrepreneurs to help them see what they're missing. Because that's usually what it is in business when you have challenges. You just need your head turned a little bit in this direction to help you see
yeah.
you were missing because you were too focused here. So it's one step towards my healing my restlessness. But it was, death has a way of focusing you. And
Yeah.
that's where it began.
That's an amazing story. And the fact that your mother left these things for you to find
Yeah.
or for you to have, and the relationships that she made and the good that she did, absolutely it would solidify your love for her and your knowing that she needed to rest now and that was okay. And I just love the fact that you say, how selfish was I? Because I'm losing my mother slowly, with Alzheimer's,
Oh,
and she's not the same person as was my mother. And so we basically, my sister and I, have lost her already as the person that she was. Our challenge now is to look at who she is now and give her what she needs when she can't even recognize us. But what I found was in visiting with her just a couple of weeks ago, actually, she might not know who I am. We might not be able to have conversations that make sense. But when I hug her, she feels like my mom. And when she hugs me, I know she knows that I'm familiar. She knows that we're connected because there is DNA in her body from me and vice versa. So it's just it's a beautiful way that you described how finding those things and seeing your mother as someone who contributed greatly to the world just boast you up to do the same thing. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. My
Yes.
heart goes out to you. My mom worked with Alzheimer patients, so I know how difficult that can be.
Yeah.
I was my mom's sole caretaker through everything because my brother turned into what men turn into. I will not
Yeah.
disparage him because this will be forever. Uh, but I think if my mom had Alzheimer's, it's not something I could have been able to, regardless of how much strength I had in taking care of it. That's something very difficult. So my heart goes out to you.
I think every journey is different and we learn things. We learn the things that we need to learn, whoever we are.
That's true.
And it's just amazing that you got to spend that time with your mom.
I, it is something that I'm very grateful for because in the 6 months we had together, we talked about everything under the
Yeah.
sun. And I brought up some of the trauma she caused me in
Oh,
childhood.
yeah.
And I got a complete sense of closure on everything, even the things that I was resentful for her about. We talked about it. It was just lovely. So that in her passing, my grieving was just the fact that she wasn't here anymore versus me still having unsaid words. There were no unsaid words by the time she passed. Everything had been said. It was now a matter of just letting go. And I'm still struggling with it.
Of
It's,
course.
I'm no one prepares you for a life without your mother, especially when you're as close to your mother as I was. So it's every
Yeah.
day, it's me learning, okay, it's funny. I wrote in my journal this morning, I am no longer a child because neither of my parents continue to walk this earth. And for that reason, I have to start acting like an adult instead of a child. And some of my stubbornness and my frustrations with different things that
Right.
it's childlike, it's childish in the way you look at it, but as an adult, you're like, all right, come on, get over it.
The other thing, too, though, is that you can redefine what an adult is.
Yeah.
So maybe some of the things that you struggle with or your frustration or stubbornness or whatever it is that you're beating yourself up for, you think it's childish. Maybe it's just you being an adult and allowing your emotion to get out of you before you have to go plow it into somebody else.
That's a
It's
good way to
part of
look at
you. Just
it. Yeah.
accept it. And as long as it's not hurting anybody else, I think it's just part of you.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. Takes a lot of pressure off, I'm telling you. Being
If you
61, I can say that.
if I can see if you can't tell, I'm a type A plus. So
Oh,
you
yes.
know.
Oh, yeah. I used to be, but I've ratcheted it down just because I've just accepted things about myself that they don't
That
matter.
that was what my journal entry was about, accepting things that
Yeah.
I can't change. And that was the child versus the adult. Adult just accepts that, look, this is the way things
Yes.
are. All you can do is handle what's been thrown at you. So that's what the journal entry was about, with me being
Gotcha.
frustrated about something that like, oh my, but no, you understand
Hmm.
this. I'm going to be 47 in December. So
Oh,
you're
you're
like,
still a baby.
why does everybody keep saying that to me?
Because you must be
I,
meeting a lot older women.
yes, all my friends are older than me. Every single one of my friends are older than me. But then when I hire an assistant, they say stuff like, "Who's Laverne and Shirley?"
That wasn't even in your lifetime. That was me. My.
But I used to watch. I love the Laverne used to
Oh,
wear. I
yes.
watched the reruns as a child. So
Yeah.
there was an era like 10 or 15 years ago where they started making the initial shirts, and I bought like a dozen of them, and I still wear them today.
Oh,
And
I
so
love
my
it.
assistant was asking me about that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, don't you remember Laverne? I got this idea from Laverne and Shirley. I always loved when she had the L's. And she's, who's Laverne and Shirley? I'm like, you're fired.
Oh no. I'm telling you what, it's so much fun to work with people that are so much younger and so much older. I love the generational play. It's so much fun.
There's so much wisdom from people who are older, and in some cases, some
And
wisdom from people who are
younger.
younger. Yeah.
Some of these, I call them kids. Some of these kids have been through horrific situations and persevered, stuff that I don't think I would have ever known what to do with.
Yeah.
Just the world that they live in is so different.
Yeah.
But anyway, we could go on for about
Yes, we
another
could.
couple
I see
hours.
that already.
We're bonding. We're
Yes.
bonding.
Simpatico. Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes. I love that. Thank you so much. And folks, if you're interested, the information on how to reach Lilian is in the show notes below. So please reach out to her if you have a PR need for sure. And if you just want to connect with another wise woman. So we'll see you later. Thank you so much, Lilian. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.